Hello, and welcome to a Stream Team review. And for the first time in a long while, we get to talk about something, a modern TV show that's good. Most people covering a lot of old stuff, like the King Arthur movies. Admittedly, First Night was kind of trash, but we will keep going. Anyway, let's start off with my first guest. Welcome, Count Valerian. Hello.
Dracarys,
Indeed. Dracarys indeed. Alrighty.
So we're live this time because last time we recorded it.
Yeah, I've been trying to bash my head against the annoyance that is the YouTube copyright. Okay.
Oh yeah, YouTube it's really irritating. I was watching a video about it the other day about some chap who had got summarily.
Okay. I have it. I fixed it.
Yeah, he got his channel deleted, I think, is what happened.
Thankfully, HBO is kind of nice as long as you give reasons. So that's something at least.
Yeah, it was like it got really messed up because the person who had struck his video retracted the strike, and he told YouTube about it, but he told the Korean office, and the person who the chap was trying to get his channel back couldn't read the Korean, and it's like, but why is the Korean staff not reading it? So it's like, whatever. And it's all very arbitrary too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem like it's fairly arbitrary and frustrating. But thankfully, since it's quiet and there's no sound and it's not playing the whole thing, we don't have to worry. And I'm gonna try to make sure that we kind of have some as many cuts in between and as many pauses as possible. That way we don't either that or I just kind of skip around at various times. But we should be able to get some good stuff. We've already got 3 people in chat, but totally comment so I can shout you out. I love shouting out my chat to spread the love around. Can't keep it for myself and all that.
Don't forget Codex.
Ready. I know. I'm searching out his intro. Yeah, let's just go.
That would not be amusing.
That's short and to the point.
Yep.
I see the Nihilist chap in the chat, and I see the Raptory Lizardy chap in the chat.
Hello. Yeah, so I just made the episode 1 review public. So that should be available for everybody.
YouTube stuff. Okay, that's what that is. No, that's actually the current one.
That's all right. That's the current one. I haven't posted the link to that one yet. I believe that I will. I'm going to do that really quick, actually. Thank you.
Looks like you've got episode 2 is already up, but episode 1 isn't.
Yeah. I think let me do it with this one. And I'll just... Alrighty, cool. Okay. Yeah.
seen Stream Team Assemble.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, Becca's just out of friends. Like, this was admittedly very last minute, probably because I had an appointment right before this, and I wanted, and then tomorrow I'm leaving for the Shakespeare Festival, and I'm going to be gone until afternoon on Saturday.
Ah,
So
Yeah, it was kind of last minute, so she missed it. Oh well,
Yeah.
sorry about that, Brightness.
yeah. So, let's just pull up the episode. So we start off with a new intro, and the intro is interesting to say the least. We start off with the doom of Valyria, with the destruction of the Freehold, and I'll kill the volume. And then we have the blood of old Valyria going down and down and splitting into 3 sections. We see Aegon and Visenya, but we actually see. So I believe that this is actually Rhaenys because it's got a dragon with an arrow through its eye.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed all those details. I mean, what I saw was a lot of blood going in various channels, and I loved having the old theme music back because I'm like, oh, good, now it's connected to an actual decent show now. But no, I didn't know what was going on with all the blood. I mean, I figured it had to do with either bloodlines or with people getting killed, because a lot of people get killed in it. So it was
I would
one
say
or the
the
other.
former.
Sorry?
Yeah,
I would say the former, bloodlines and like.
Yeah, but I was thinking, I think what I was thinking at the time was because I was just, watching it like cold. I didn't know what it was all about. It's not as clear and obvious as the old one with the map and the places on the map.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But as I say, I did like having the music back and with a decent because towards the end, like, had this great music to this absolute rubbish.
Yeah. Have
So
some
what?
dumpster fire.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's like, what the? So now it's not so. So now it's not ruined anymore. It's been liberated. It's been purified and cleansed.
And rised up like a phoenix, you would say.
Yes. We're very poetic today.
Indeed.
Yep. And then we just kind of see it running through the various bloodlines to Alysanne and Jaehaerys. And we see the Jaehaerys' crown, the crown that Viserys wears. And then there's kind of just a bonnet type thing. Type thing for Alysanne Targaryen. And then the main reason why it's very esoteric. It's very undetailed. You have to make a lot of inference. I actually watched a few YouTube videos in order to find out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a couple of them, and because they were like independent, I figured they were independent of each other. I figured, okay, that must be what it is, because I watched one from I Eat Zebra, who is a friend of Gray Area, and another one by Hello Future Me, and it's also mentioned other places too, like did Preston and Red Team Review mention it? Probably.
They did. They at least mentioned the Meraxes arrow through the eye. There's my sister's idiot dogs. I was going nuts. But after this, we see Balon and Alyssa Alyssa's one is completely drowned out, whereas you see Balon's having the Hand of the King pin, which is appropriate since he was named Hand of the King.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they merge, and that turns
Split
into
two, which is Daemon and Viserys.
Oh, okay. I guess that's fair enough.
And we're going through we see another one right there. Don't know what that is for. It's probably Corlys Velaryon, I imagine, and Rhaenys.
And somewhere there should be Emma Arryn, as she's not a Targaryen, but she's his wife.
Well, this is Viserys Eris right here, and then there's Emma Arryn right here.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
And that's and then we also see a little piece right here where you have Viserys's bloodstream splitting off right there. Foreshadowing for the later part of this episode.
So what happens is this makes me wonder if this is going to get revised a bit later when certain people are born and exist.
Yeah. Or they could be having something right here. Since I don't know what these two signs are, but they're pretty prominent. And since it could also be referring to this could also be referring to the High Towers, our bloodline, and it going down into Aegon II. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out, or somebody will.
Yeah. The nice thing about this is that we don't really have to. That if we theorize, we can kind of say, okay, this is roughly probably what's going to happen. The source material itself is very undetailed, but this is Rhaenyra's symbol, since we see her wearing that Valyrian steel necklace that Daemon gives her. And so we also see a bunch of sigils up here for various different lords. Like you see the Direwolf, you see a bunch of obscure symbols. You see Baratheon, Crakehall, Twin Axes, Lannister.
You don't see them very well, but yeah.
Yeah.
And you see the dragons presiding over them. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, my main issue with the intro is that the geography is framed in a messy way because of how much emphasis is placed on bloodlines. I do like the fact that it's a big model of Valyria, but you have to really make some inferences.
Yeah.
To figure out, okay, what exactly is going on here.
Or you need to what?
What?
So go on.
I don't even know.
Your turn. You go.
I was going to say that this is a very elaborate way to make blood wine.
Yeah. And it all comes down to House of the Dragon. So we start off with the crab feeder.
Oh, right.
Eater feeding people to crabs.
Not gonna lie, this is a first.
Yeah.
Like in terms of torture, I mean.
Yeah. We also have the death of Sir Ryan Redwine, who wasn't really a character in the show other than a quick cameo. Sir Ryan Redwine.
But who is he? What did he do? Besides Ryan.
Okay, so Ryan Redwine was the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. He was a legendary knight.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
He was also the Hand of the King, and apparently one of the worst hands of the king ever. Though Fire and Blood says we will not speak of the follies committed by Sir Ryan Redwine as Hand of the King before
he's worse than Otto Hightower and Unwin Peak.
Let me pull.
They're pretty bad.
They are pretty bad, but they just said so. Let me pull it. Let me find it. So, some problems. So, how it is, how it's said in Jaehaerys chose the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard to take the place of Septon Barth, but Sir Ryan Redwine was no Septon Barth. His undoubted prowess with the lands proved of little use to him as hand. Some problems cannot be solved by hitting them with a stick. Grand Maester Alar famously observed, His Grace had no choice but to remove Sir Ryan after only a year in office.
Okay, it doesn't go into details except that he hit everything with a stick.
Don't
Yeah.
enrage the Chad, Balerion. Don't enrage Shad. Whatever you do.
Yeah, has the crap. Yeah, feels unnatural. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Ryan Redwine, and yeah, he's referenced in a few other places. Yeah, so Davos Seaworth, Earth is actually reminded in Storm of Swords by Maester Pylos that there were accomplished knights like Sir Ryan that served poorly his hand.
Yeah.
And so it's basically like it wasn't that he was bad; it was just that he was not really competent at his job.
Basically, he hit things with a stick a lot.
Yeah, he's a tourney knight. Right. Since there's wasn't really any wars that happened during this time period.
Yep. Good on the Turgs for that.
Yep. So after that, we see that the next order of business is that Sir Harold is now going to be picking out new replacements for the Kingsguard. However, we see that Lord Corlys Velaryon is not exactly pleased with how things are going. So he's lost a number of ships, and the last one was his. So we have the problem coming in that he's saying, quit dithering and actually do something, you assholes. And because of this, they don't really take him seriously, even though they should.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically, Viserys is a pushover.
Basically, it's Otto who's calling the shots right now. He's like, nah.
No, we're fine.
Yeah, we'll reimburse you. It's like and I think that there's probably a double motive with that, where Otto is probably like, cool, the upstart new blood rich guy is gonna lose his trade. I'm cool with this.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
Yep.
since he definitely will see Corlys Velaryon as competition, and he definitely sees him as competition in this episode due to what happens later.
Yeah, basically, Otto wants to call all the shots. Or Corlys Velaryon has a little bit too much more power than is good for him. And there's also possibly the aspect of the reach. that was an interesting Freudian slip.
Mm-hmm.
The reach will enrich the reach if Corlys loses money.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I guess, yeah.
Very much so. And we'll definitely be able to see a little bit more in terms of the the rivalry between House Velaryon and House Hightower, especially in terms of the fact that it's very much Hightowers are the old, stuffy, rich old blood. And House Velaryon has only just now come into a measure of wealth, or a measure of prestige, high prestige. Basically, I heard it said that by Gary from Nerdrotic that Corlys Velaryon is basically the Gary Stew of Westeros.
It does come off as that, yeah. Just a tad.
Yeah.
Where basically he can do no wrong. He's a good guy. He's got a beautiful wife with a dragon. He's unbelievably rich. Gets rich very, very quickly. Has a massive fleet. He's one of the major allies. That sort of thing.
Yep. Whereas
Yep.
Otto is kind of a bleep to everybody, not just to Corlys. He'll tell the king, "I'm sorry, I cannot allow it." So he'd be kind of polite to the king, but he'll still say, "I cannot allow it," and then he'll cut everybody else off, including the heir.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think part of it is deliberate because he definitely wants to make sure he's definitely shifting things around where it's that idea of a slow drop down idea where he wants things to slowly drift away from Daemon since he hates Daemon. And then he wants to get Rhaenyra to be crowned so that he can get Daemon out of the way, and he's eventually going to want to get Rhaenyra out of the way so that his grandson Aegon, as we see in the preview for the next episodes, Ode can become king. That's the main thing that Otto wants, but he's not
basically a snake,
automatically.
then.
Yeah, he's
Sorry.
not automatically going for, hey, let's do this. He's very, very slowly dropping things down. And so with this, Corlys is directly suggesting, let's go to war. Let's burn this pirate out. However, he's not really doing anything. However, Viserys is not really doing anything. Even though the pirates are not in the free cities, he just doesn't really want to do it because he says, hey, they're providing them with, they're the weapons dealers. So why exactly should I go to war with them? I've sent some envoys, but they're not doing anything. There's also a good bit of dialogue where they explain how long it's been and say that Daemon has fortified Dragonstone with gold cloaks over the past 6 months. And it's a really nice, smooth way of letting them know, okay, they're doing. He's doing. This is how long it's been, but they're doing it in a way that he's just saying, hey, get off your butt. You're not doing anything. You're not a good king.
So there's a context to explaining the date, but of course it's also the whole commentary on Viserys' rule too.
Yeah. Yep.
He is better than Robert.
Yes, mostly because Robert's kind of an actively bad king because he just doesn't care. Viserys is at least trying. He's just inept and a pushover and wanting to keep peace in a very dysfunctional kingdom.
Yeah, to be fair, you may have seen, was it? I think it was the Dragon Demands. He had a video about the decisions that some of the early Targaryens made. That maybe one reason why he tries to avoid war is that he thinks that the White Walkers might be coming imminently, or within his son's life, within his heir's lifetime, or within his lifetime. So he doesn't want the realm to be at war when that happens.
Yep. That is a good theory. I think that it kind of plays into a few ideas that usually George doesn't do. Like, George doesn't usually do motivation for, like, that kind of prophecy. I would expect that kind of prophecy in a more traditional fantasy rather than a Song of Ice and Fire. Mostly George just does a shall we say conflicting prophecies, like the idea of the stallion that mounts the world and the Azor Ahai, or the prince that was promised, prophecies all conflicting with each other. It's interesting because it's not necessarily in his style. And burn the pirates out. Yeah, there's been pirates in the Stepstones, and Corlys is demanding that they go and fix it. However, Viserys is saying, no, let's do diplomacy. We can get the pirates to leave, just like the Romans thought that they could get the Germanic tribes to leave.
We can work it out. We can work it out.
Yeah, can you work it out with Ramsay? Could you work it out with Ramsay Bolton? Because it seems like this guy is cut from the same cloth.
I am ultra the deer, pray I don't ultra any further.
Yeah. Yeah, he likes subversive prophecies, yeah. Or even just prophecies that don't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And
or could mean anything.
Yeah. So here we actually see a bit of Rhaenyra kind of trying to be the heir, but not quite understanding how being the heir works. Being the heir is at least in this time, isn't necessarily just speaking your mind out of turn to the king, your father, because you're still not his equal. You're his successor. There's a difference. And you don't really have power, especially when you're a teenager, since you're supposed to be learning how to be a ruler and not necessarily trying to be the ruler or countermand your dad. So
basically, you're heard, not listened to, essentially.
Yeah. Or at least you're supposed to listen and observe rather than... Since that's my understanding of things. Valerian, what's your view on this?
We were talking about the dinner scene.
The heir thing, where she talks about how they should have send dragon riders to just nuke them.
Well, I guess the thing is, would it be safe for her? She and Daemon are the only heirs. Would it be safe to send both of them out? If I were in the council, that's what I would wonder. And I would say, if we're going to send a dragon, don't send all three dragon riders. Maybe send Daemon. But then, what happens if Daemon gets killed and Rhaenyra is the only heir, and so I don't know if the idea is actually particularly good in and of itself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's also the issue that she's technically not really speaking when she should speak, since she's a kid, really. And she doesn't really have an understanding of how to get through the situation. But the nice thing is she understands how to get the situation later on, which we'll get to.
Yeah, she grows in the course of the episode somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure I object to her giving her view as such. Maybe she should give it to Viserys in private, but don't have such a problem with that. It's the advice with it itself, not necessarily that she's giving advice.
Yeah, I think it's the time. The time she needs to learn better how to time her ideas.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, how much training has she had in ruling so far?
Very, very little.
Yeah.
All things considered.
About 6 months, shall we say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then she gets advised, why don't you pick out the new member of the King's Guard? And this is kind of a weird one where they apparently have this table and several like figurines for the candidates.
Oh, it's the playing Skylanders then.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Walt's in the chat.
Oh. Again? Oh, for crying out loud.
It's I'm sure it's Otto.
Thank you.
It's possible, but it's just...
Otto the Botto, as we call him.
Yeah. No, Otto's more intelligent than most
Mr.
bots. He's also actually articulate.
Well, he's especially articulate when it comes to porn bots.
Or pimping out his daughter.
Yeah.
Or pro-communist ideology, but regardless.
Mm-hmm.
It's oh dear.
So, and I love how they've just kind of point out that basically none of these guys have actual combat experience. They're very much the knights. There's definitely an element of the Knights of Summer going on with this.
Yeah, they do have combat experience, just dealing with thieves and the like, but like wartime experience.
Yeah, or like beating each other on the head with sticks.
Yeah.
Do not enrage the Shad. We talked about this, Count.
Bother. He's going to devote a 2-hour thingy to proving how what I just said is absolute law.
Yeah, probably.
That's assuming the Shad even knows we exist.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Sir Tristan Cole, I mean, she does make a good argument because he has combat experience, but on the other hand, Tristan Cole is a bleep. So...
Well, they don't know this yet, and Westeros very much goes on the idea of, if you're hot, you must be a good person.
Well, that's HBO rather than Westeros, but yes.
Well, I went for Jon Snow, so...
that's kind of the thing. If you're a true-born son and you look good, it means that the gods are blessing you, I think. And it's very rare that you see, like... We know that handsome people can be good or bad, but there are some people in Westeros, especially young girls, that don't necessarily have experience, like Sansa, thinking, oh, he's cute, he must be a good guy, like Sansa and Joffrey.
Yeah. Oh, my prince, he's so dreamy. He can't possibly be bad.
Ooh.
This is a revolting moment in the story. This is just a shocking, disgusting moment in the story.
Yeah. And it is very much you see the rationale for why she's making a decision as opposed to making a snap decision. And Otto Hightower brings up some good, interesting points about how Seaguard is incredibly valuable and that there are other places that would be more advantageous because it's a favor to those houses. But yeah.
Not everything Otto says is bad in itself.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
Just that I always suspect his motives. That's the thing. Carry on.
No, I was just going to say, there is logic in what he says, even if it is a snake at the end of it, really.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably my favorite. So far, I really like Rhys Ifans as Otto. he's very much more subdued, less psychotic Tywin Lannister in some ways. And she puts forward, hey, these are tourney knights. They don't have any combat experience. They shouldn't be here. Then we see I guess what Dragon Demands hopes is the setup for the Valyria prequel, which the Valyria prequel would be very interesting. There's no source material on it, but it would be interesting. So far, these guys have been proven themselves, at least this crew has proven themselves able to create a pretty good idea, a pretty good balance of using the material from the book while also utilizing the fact that they have to make new source material.
I think so is the fact as well that George is working in tandem with the showrunners and the crew as well, exactly, with their insight exactly. So
Yeah.
more so than D&D exactly, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
Go for it.
just that D&D are not involved anymore.
Indeed.
Yeah, though we do know that just the idea that you're not D&D does not make it automatically good. Take a look at the Long Night prequel. In terms of slow, I don't think that it's slow. I think that it's very much another setup episode. They want to they're basically getting the chairs set up for the main events to come.
Yes, it's basically a slow burn essentially.
Yep.
Yep, I didn't find it particularly slow.
No. I was surprised that an episode called The Rogue Prince didn't really have much Daemon Targaryen. He's talked about a fair bit, but he doesn't show up very much. Apparently, there were some problems behind the scenes where one of the directors had to leave. Very suddenly, and they had to replace him. So here we see Alicent and Viserys talking, and that's very much a setup for later on in the episode, where they're talking about how he is feeling connected with her because she's comforting him. Though I think that Preston Jacobs brought it up that there's very much some hypocrisy with Viserys, where he says that he's not willing to marry a 12-year-old and wait till she's 14. And he's kind of creeped out by it, but he's willing to marry a 15-year-old by the end, which is
1 year does make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's not of age, shall we say.
Well, she technically is, but it's only a slight difference.
Yeah.
It's only a slight margin. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
It's 365 days.
There's also the fact that he married his own wife at 12, married his own wife at 11, and bedded her at 12.
Yeah.
12, I believe. Yes. Yeah, she was born in 82 AC and was married at 93 AC. And at the time, Viserys was 5 years older than her.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather, in reference to the chat, I'd rather it a little slow than that they rushed over it. I really don't want them to rush over it.
Yeah.
Don't pull a season 7.
Yeah.
Don't pull a season
Please
7.
no.
Yeah. It's usually a good sign if it's slow. Yeah, that's usually a good sign. And in this one, I'm not necessarily as concerned about faithfulness as an adaptation, because there are just inherent problems that you run into adapting this book, because it's kind of weak source material, really, in order to base something off of. It's neat and it's interesting, but you have to make a lot of adjustments and compressions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not based on a novel. It's based on a history book.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. It's basically Westeros Wikipedia that's sold as a bestseller.
Kind of.
Here we have a scene of Alicent and Rhaenyra chatting, mostly about how kind of just setting up their continuing with their friendship. I do think that it's interesting that Rhaenyra said, "You didn't choose me, he spurned Daemon." I think that's a good line that was brought up. But it's very much Alicent's not a bad person. She's trying to comfort her friend, at least, which is a good sign. It makes you kind of like Alicent, not see her as a gold digger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, she doesn't tell Rhaenyra anything about what she's doing with Viserys, which is also interesting. But
or vice versa.
Yeah, I think they would probably think it weird anyway. I think it was probably a good decision that they decided not to do the mushroom thing. I think it was either Mushroom or Septon Eustace that talked about how suggested that Alicent had already taken Viserys into her bed, which is like, no.
Yeah, some people do seem to think that's what happened, but it doesn't actually say in the story one way or the other. In the show, I mean, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Fabulous. We have our lady aspiring British mumsy Mistborn.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Back room.
Yep, that's me.
I forgot how much of a hindrance my opening is. It just validates every fucking thing you say. Anyway.
It is David Tennant after all.
It is, and he is annoyingly. I don't know why I still stay with that one. But hi guys.
Hi.
Oh, there's the alternative.
Afternoon.
I mean, Tilda Swinton's awesome and all, but my sort of force is far more subtle and mischievous and underhanded than hers. Hello Trip. Hello Raptor and Nillis.
Yep.
You're more subtle than the White Witch?
I think so. I don't think I'm likely to look, if I'm your Overlord Queen, I don't think you're gonna notice it. I don't think you're gonna know it's actually me. Apart from anything, I really don't want the publicity. I'm not up for that shit.
So you're putting a Galadriel then?
Oh yeah, but like maybe a little bit more evil.
None of that spectacular turning people into stone stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's it's cool and all, but honestly, like I prefer plants to like stone gardens. Like I would actually rather have like living things, rather
Aw.
than dead stone. It's just a bit like, pardon the expression, but set in stone. Like I would rather things that grow and change.
Ha.
Things
They're
you have to look
pretty.
after. If I'm gonna be evil, like I need to have something to like release the desire to make things grow and live.
Everyone is
Yeah.
more so than a warrior queen in a chariot. Lol.
That's true, but I was being compared to the White Witch, so I thought I would describe how I'm not like the White Witch.
So
Anyway,
we're so what
boss.
we're going to be doing actually is So white is actually more available in the evenings, and I'm going to be putting together an afternoon crew this Saturday for the evening stuff, which is Aspiring Writer, White Dragon, Trip, and me talking about the episode. White is mostly depressed. He's not angry. He's mostly just I don't really know how to get invested in this. There's no White Walker type threat. It's just politicking and stuff. It's not terribly interesting to me.
Hmm.
He's also
I
just generally depressed.
I don't think I've actually ever seen White happy.
I like the politics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
White will probably moan his way through it. White is our very much our Eeyore.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
sweet.
kind of.
That's cute. Bless.
Yeah.
Eeyore is one of the great sages of history anyway, so he should be flattered by that comparison.
Does that mean Balerion is owl?
I don't know, am I?
I feel like that's
Yes.
the closest Winnie the Pooh character to you.
So I'm
Yeah,
Tigger
maybe
because
so.
I'm Tigger because of my delusions of grandeur. I don't even know who Pooh is. Maybe Tarek is our Pooh Bear.
I feel like he's more like he's not like the main character guy though. Like he's the foil guy,
So he's
know what I
Rabbit.
mean? No, he's not Rabbit. No, I don't know. Like
Yeah,
y-
I don't think anyone's much like him in Pooh.
I
No.
don't think he is. Pooh Bear's he's too sincere. Sorry, sweets. I'm sorry if you're listening. I'm sorry. You're sincere in some ways, but not in your presentation on this channel.
Oh, you can't
Also-
read a joke about herpes.
Yeah. Moving on.
Did you just say herpes?
Yes.
I'm not going into the lore about that.
No comment.
Hey, he's bad at pickup lines. Okay.
STDs are like Pokemon. Got to catch them all, I guess.
That's not the one he used, but there we go.
Well, romantic.
It's a long time ago, and I tend to block it out.
Mhm. Yeah, keep letting me know if just in case it goes. I think that this is probably a good way to fight the copyright.
Your background, kind of.
I think.
Where did you get to in the episode, though? As in talking,
We're about 14. We're about 15 minutes in.
you're just doing it chronologically.
Chronologically.
I promise I am able to say words.
We know you're generally very articulate. It's just
Ah.
when the bard comes around that you're not articulate.
I don't know. I don't know. Like the influence of the Americans, like pronouncing all your syllables, makes me want to go country bumpkin a bit, and I kind of stop learning how to talk.
Yeah, they do overdo some of their.
You guys say all of the syllables in the words, and it's like, why? Why don't you just not?
Necessary, or
Necessary.
as opposed to necessary, or some people like to say police or police.
I can't think of. There's other ones, but you guys be slow talkers, and I can't be asked for that shit. Shorten the words, for
Extraordinary.
God's sake.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's not. Anyway.
So after we get we get a discussion between Viserys, Corlys, and Rhaenys, where they do their own version of pimping their daughter, but they do it in a more blunt way. And the fact that the girl is significantly younger, they're trying to pull the hey, this is a time for stability. Gotta have some solidity, and we can provide that since I'm the Elon Musk of Westeros, essentially.
We can give you lots of money
Yes.
if you
I mean-
if you have our daughter.
There's
Take our
also
daughter.
obviously, they don't say it outright, but there is the underlying sort of implication. Well, how there was a council, and how the other option was my wife. Well, you solve a problem here. There's people irritating you by
Mhm.
making implications her way, and it's not that people are going out to usurp him or anything, but you know what I mean. It's just there's an underlying layer to that which would solve a problem quite easily for him. So that's why it's kind of like.
Queen who never was. They can unite the two lines, and people have done that in history.
Oh my god, there's fucking bots in the chat. Hang on.
Are these back?
Yeah.
Oh, kill the bots,
Out.
please.
Get out.
It's auto. We've established it's auto, the botto.
Mhm. Yeah.
Interesting.
It also,
That's
I
back.
think that this actually might. So one person was actually asking why are Rhaenys and Corlys here, and I think this one at least makes sense where they're trying to be chummy with him and play the long game, and not be an antagonistic force per se. They want to get in good to some extent, though. It is a change from the book because at this point Corlys is just on Driftmark. He doesn't really. He's puts forward his daughter via letter, I believe, or at the very least, it's suggested by a maester.
Hmm.
Maester.
To be fair though, it's like a change that's sort of
I think it works. I think it works
Yeah.
fine.
it's just a way of getting the characters in the same room together, making it direct. And I think when we were watching it, it was like, well, the thing is that we're trying to get through a lot of time here, and we're trying to make it as streamlined as possible so it doesn't feel like we're just jumping things, and we can't waste time. So although letters are sometimes an interesting way to introduce stuff, it depends on how much time that's going to make extra in terms of scene time. And the fact is that having the characters in the same room together is going, or in this case, not really a room, but you know what I mean, is very easily not only giving the message across, but also getting you an idea of each of the characters' attitude towards it. And you just get a lot told to you about the situation in one scene rather than weaseling it through other characters. You know what I mean? It just gives you everything you need to know direct, which
Yeah.
streamlines us because again, we've got a lot of time to get through in this show.
Yeah, and we don't necessarily want a whole bunch of scenes of people reading letters.
Or
And
D&D.
hey, it can be done in to some degree, and I love letters as a way of telling stories. I'm a Pride and Prejudice nut, and a massive plot point of that movie, or no, of that book, and into the TV show and the movie, is that one of the characters leaves a letter to explain himself so that female love interest realizes, oh no, he's actually not a bad guy. I've been lied to. Oopsie doopsie. And the whole scene is just her reading the letter and finding that out. And it's a character moment because he doesn't know how to say it to her because they just friggin' clash when they start getting high emotion. But like, he can write it down, and that's a character. That's a character trait. But if that's not like a big part of it, that they have to write it down because otherwise they can't say it or whatever. Like, it's easier just to put them in the same room together.
Yeah, if there's a motive, if there's a motive for having a letter versus
Indeed.
And I think in this case, when they're discussing a deal, or it's better to have letters, better to not have letters and have it be face to face so that the actors can play off of each other.
Yeah, unless it's like the point of a letter is that it gets delayed or like which causes something else to happen before he reads the letter. There's all sorts of reasons why you can use a letter and use it like creatively, but if it really doesn't matter, it just streamlines things, makes things a lot easier. Oh fucking hell, the bot's back. Hang on.
Because here it's just like it's just for politics and showing the politics. So the usual reasons for having a letter wouldn't necessarily apply to this particular case.
You're a worm tongue. Yeah. It's not so obvious, but yeah, it's still obvious that he's a snake, yeah.
Yeah, he's underhanded. I was saying it in our watch through as well. Like, I really like him that he's slowly emerging as a villain. He's not immediately like, as someone, I know bits and bobs of the backstory, but I don't know a lot of the more minor characters. Well, I say minor characters, but you know what I mean. I know like the broad Targaryen characters, but like, I don't know the characters that interact with them in a fairly prominent level, but like the details of the story. And he's one of those that I just knew nothing about, and I knew you guys were talking about him, but like to me he was just introduced, and I was like, yeah, he's there. He's a little bit gross, little bit of a snake, little bit of a coward, little bit consumed by his hatred of particular characters, which is interesting, but like he's not a prominent villain yet. He's not a prominent bad guy. He's just doing things that are causing conflict on an underlying level, and things are slowly revealing. And considering how much we've got to get through, how much is happening, like, that's really interesting, because on one hand we've got like lots of stuff happening, and on the other hand we've got character arcs that are taking their time, and I really like that. I really like things that, the character unfoldings are taking their time, and he's one of those.
Yeah, people have been hating on Otto is almost a tradition at this point in the fandom, but
fair enough. I don't know anything about him, so I'm just discovering it and going, this is an interesting character that I am starting to dislike. But well, that's interesting. Hey, Valeri, you might have a chance. That came out more mean than it should have sounded. Forgive me, but Taya got a laugh.
The bots are attracted to me. Either that or Otto is trying to pimp them to me so that he can steal my throne.
I'm sorry, can allow you to do that.
Yeah.
Throne.
Ahem.
Have we got to the part of the episode where Otto calls his daughter comely?
I
have not yet. No.
Yeah, that was a moment.
That's later, yeah. But yeah, it's nice that it is nice that they develop it slowly, do a slow burn thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm impressed, especially because we're all scarred by season 7 and 8. Like, everyone just says season 8, but I'm like, do you remember season 7 though?
Oh, season 7
do you fucking remember?
Bad.
Unfortunately.
See, I genuinely hate season 7 more than I hate season 8. I'm scarred. But
season 5 and 6 were also pretty bad.
But a lot of like the character writing, they were bad, but there was still like hope in certain elements, and it was enjoyable enough. But season 7 was just like insulting, like insulting to your intelligence. You're like, season 5 and 6 was like, this isn't as good anymore, but like I can enjoy it, I guess, and it could get better. But like, no, the writing and that shit. The main reason why those 2 seasons were bad was because they just gave up on going slow. No, it's not the main reason. There's plenty of reasons, but one of the bigger ones is they gave up on going slow, and that's one of the things that made it really obvious. They just fucking shoved things in and decided it was the case instead of understanding what an actual arc is. Like, it was just fucking annoying.
As well as they went full hog on abusing the crew.
Yeah, but in terms of storytelling, and what we were used to in terms of storytelling, it was just like, yeah, this thing's a thing now. Lol. It just pissed me off to no end.
We're just going to do things because the plot told us to. We're not going to actually think things out, have actual motives and ideas and stuff. We're just going to do things because, hey, someone wrote us to do it.
Yeah.
And like, it's so nice to just see a build-up of a character that's not being rushed, that's not being, what's one of the worst ones? The fucking Jon and Daenerys fucking romance that came out of nowhere. That
what
just
romance?
that fucking
Twilight has a
cardboard
better
cutout.
romance.
Yeah.
Cardboard cutout versus other cardboard.
To be fair, they are made
cutouts.
for each other. To be fair, they're both cardboard cutouts.
Yeah. Stick them in the room together and shut the fucking door so I don't have to watch it. Oh my god, that shit. And it was just like, 3 episodes in, in love, totally a romance, and it's like, really? You sure? It was like immediately, like everyone was like, before the season happened, everyone was like, all the fans were going, yeah, Jon and Dany are gonna meet and they're gonna totally like fall in love, and I was like, the fuck? What kind of fucking ridiculous, like infectious fan fiction is this? Then it happened, and I was like, why?
Nothing.
And it wasn't in a way that was convincing. It was just in like, yeah, we're doing a romance now. It's like, one, the show doesn't do romance. The show does relationships that may or may not happen to work. Like,
And they did
and
doing just that.
But what could be hotter than I done won it?
Carrick, that's what.
That's kind of a low bar.
And
but
everything else.
You know what, Raptor, I was going to say that at least Anakin Skywalker and Padme had a bit more relationship than Dany and Jon.
I would say it's a better story if you take out the fact that it's supposed to be a good relationship. Because as a story about a romance that's shit, as in like in universe, as in like this is a relationship that has a lot of issues, and causes a lot of problems, then that it's miles better. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But like in terms of how good is the relationship in terms of, I mean, it's probably still a little bit better in terms of healthiness of relationship, but
that's because they're basically just a corny teenage love story with no maturity at all. Even though these characters should be relatively mature by this point.
Well, it's not just that. It's just that, like, it's oh god, it's red. Like Padme and Anakin, red flag after fucking red flag.
And yet she still marries him after in a Disney timeline.
But half the red flags are from her though. They're just more subtle, right? They're subtler from, but they're still just as bad. And it's just a case of like codependence, like where they both make each other worse, and it's horrifying, really.
But George Lucas doesn't frame it that way.
Yeah.
Ooh. But it's like step by step of this is how a codependent relationship forms, and this is how it fucking explodes at the end.
Yeah. But it doesn't seem like George Lucas made it that way.
Oh, I sincerely hope that his own relationship is nothing like it, because...
Yeah. I do like this line where he's deliberately trying to play on the king's pain to try and get him to talk to his daughter. I think that's a very, very sneaky evil thing.
Yeah, he comes across like he's just being, diplomatic and be careful, but follow your duty, but heavy heart. But it's like you know what he's after. He's after him to be cautious about this match, but to still think about the concept.
Raptor has a radical idea.
Just being friends. Yeah, that would be great.
I mean,
Yeah.
Raptor.
imagine that.
What if they had a platonic friendship from working together to solve the problem and went, maybe we should marry because that would be good for the realm, even though we don't love each other?
You mad
That would be
woman.
an interesting story, and it would
You
be
mad woman.
realistic
How
for the
quite
time.
easy to think.
Don't forget, friend zone is fun zone.
That's how Balerion sleeps at night. I'm
Oh,
sorry, this is Balerion bashing day.
Is it?
I'm sorry.
Just my luck.
I'm very sorry. I promise.
No
Yeah.
forgiveness.
So-
No
What you said,
forgiveness.
but what you said, Becca, it's probably just that will require D&D to actually use their brains for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And the more we think about it, the more we drive ourselves in circles. But,
Yeah.
Exactly.
let's go back to talking about a good show.
Yeah. Where a father watches his daughter walking with his 12-year-old daughter walking with her prospective future husband who's over twice her age.
Yeah.
What could
And
be bad about that?
I like the complexity of it, actually, because I like how he's clearly not particularly happy. He's very
No.
uncomfortable, but he's just like, this is what must be done. This is the world I live in. He's a man of the world that he lives in, but with actual emotions. It's like, wow, complexity. Don't you love it? Don't you love
Yeah.
complexity? Isn't that amazing?
Indeed.
It could be that he's learned from his mistake in marrying a 12-year-old at 17.
Mm.
Mm.
Look, I may be a Targaryen, but even I have some standards, okay?
But yeah, also like, whether or not it's when a child is your own child, you see it differently to like when you're in the situation. I mean, maybe the child, obviously she's not exactly. She's just doing what her parents say, but she's also like, not exactly going to be completely with the program and on it, and like, it's not really something she understands that much. But like, you see your child doing that, it's a bit different to if you're in that situation, because you have the full context. That's your innocent child that you still consider a child, and you're like, Christ, I'm setting her up for being an adult, which
Yeah.
in a situation which, regardless of your culture and time, unless your child is at the point of being an adult or nearly there, like 16, 18, right? It's going to feel like that. And even then, like, I mean, in our culture, it's still then, like, people still feel that way because we have a different view on it. But, I like that. I like the way that he's okay with it, but he's not okay with it.
One mistake that I think they made was they don't know where Vagar is.
Huh.
Yeah, you would keep tabs on that since it's a dragon roughly the size of a jet.
I mean, I guess it depends on where the dragon went.
Yeah, it just says the Dragon Keepers believe she made home.
But I guess if she went to Valyria, like, and everyone's like, well,
the coast of the Narrow Sea.
But Valyria is, considered to be, haunted or not nice. People don't go there, right? Like, maybe it's like we think that she's there, but we've never confirmed it. We've never been there to find out, and maybe she stays there. Maybe she stays,
You'd think they would keep better track of one of the 3 great dragons.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I like.
You could easily take over Westeros with
Hey, maybe she just eats anyone that tries to tame her.
Yeah.
Too bad it's a better
No.
excuse than Danny just forgot.
But
So,
there's stuff that's going to happen later with the Vagar, so.
Yeah.
So,
My theory is that it's going to be a triumphant moment when Lena finally grabs Vagar and uses it in the War in the Steppe Zones. Either that
Okay.
or when she finally takes her into the sky. And
Okay.
it'll be paired with the moment when Aemon Targaryen, who's a psychopath, gets Vagar.
Mhm. Like I feel like they're like I like the idea of like we sort of probably know where she is, but like nobody actually saw it. Maybe it was at night that she ran away or flew away, you know, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? There's like situations where the visibility isn't so good and you think possibly of the direction, but nobody's actually gone to find the dragon. You know,
maybe
I don't know.
it will be hard to miss, to be fair. Like a big
Yeah.
big
Yeah,
ass
but if
dragon.
nobody was fucking looking up, if it was dark, maybe there's a fucking storm going on. I don't know. Some shit might have been happening. There are situations where people aren't actually that preoccupied with what's flying over them and which direction exactly it's going in and which location it's heading for. And if it's going over, if it's people looking up and it's going over the sea, you might see a vague direction towards Valyria. You don't know if it's stopping there. You don't see it stop. You don't know if it's exactly going in that direction. So I don't know that you might have witnesses that might have seen it, but it depends on who it was. If it's some random farmer who doesn't see anyone ever and dies 3 months later, then
where were they keeping her?
They said that she was too big for the dragon pit. They just let her roam around.
Okay, I suppose that's possible.
Yeah.
I understand that it's unlikely, but at the same time, it's like that's why it's sort of a nice little legend thing because it's like to lose something that massive, to lose something that valuable is like is a lot more powerful story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, are we at Rhaenys and Rhaenyra?
Yep.
I like the scene.
Yeah.
It's a good scene.
This is a good scene. Yeah.
It's building on the same thing with Corlys, really. Like, except there's more going on. But like, I love
There's a bitterness
Rhaenys,
there.
like the way that she's like, well, of course I'm not okay with it, but also this is the world I live in. You know, I'm a mum. I see her as a little girl.
Yeah.
But also, it's back to what we got with Emma last episode of like the older women in the show going, Rhaenyra, you might have all these idealistic visions of you changing the world, but that here is reality for you. It ain't gonna be that fucking easy. You're a child. You know, I love it. I love that kind of. I love that coming from the mouth of a female character because it creates more complexity in it, and you can't like frame it as like. It's harder for her to dismiss as like, yeah, but you just don't know, and you just you know what I mean. Like, they lived it. They know. You know.
Yeah, and Rhaenys is kind of she has a little bit of an obnoxious adolescent attitude. She's kind of arrogant. Goes like, well, they rejected you, but they're not going to reject me because I'm special.
And it's like, yeah, you're not. You're 15. You think you are. You think you're the most unique person on the planet because you're 15 years old. But the reality is, you're not much different
You're
to
a
the rest of us.
15-year-old girl.
You are in a very privileged position, and you have the ability to possibly be in the situation where you might change something. But the reality is that's going to be really hard for you, and I know because I was also in a very similar position. So there, you know.
Yeah.
So I had a horrible thought. What if Rhaenyra? I'm imagining Rhaenyra being a YA fanfic writer type.
Oh no. Rhaenyra
Having Sarah J. Maas flashbacks.
Rhaenyra is a Sarah J. Maas fan confirmed.
Who?
Sarah J. Maas, the writer of Throne of Glass.
I hate that book. I hate that book. I hate Sword of Truth more, but I still hated reading that book.
Like I reckon you should press it out and go further, just because the thing is, right, the reason why you'll be like, what in the fuck am I reading later on in the series is completely different to early on. Like, she gets better at some things and then just sort of goes off the rails in other things. Like, I don't know why she turns into an erotica writer by some of the most recent books, but she has.
What?
So
I'm not even kidding. The 5th book in the Court and Thorns and Roses series is like 20% sex scene. 20 like
What?
it's I listened to an audiobook and I was like, what in the fuck is happening? This is a massive book. It was a really long book. And like it was just sex scene after sex scene. And I was like, okay. You went off the rails.
So I actually would at this point in time, it has not done anything I would consider stupid yet. There is a tiny bit of oddness that we're about to see coming in the next bit. We kind of have to wrap it. I'm gonna have to kind of blaze through a little bit since I got to run an errand for my family. We see more establishment of the relationship between Alicent and Viserys, and apparently Daemon is throwing a bit of a tantrum, unless that is Otto who sent it. But I get the sense that it was Daemon doing it, since he actually does have the egg. Basically, he's saying, I'm the real heir. I'm going to be married to a second wife, and she's pregnant. I'm going to have a kid, and I'm going to put a dragon egg in there. And he's apparently invited him to the wedding.
Incidentally, he's married already.
Yeah, to yeah, this is a wait for the whole season to come out. Yes. So we have a whole thing. I like the bit where they ask about what they're kind of concerned about. Maybe they won't do it, maybe they won't. But then the thing that solidifies it is asking, what egg did Daemon take? And then it becomes personal for Viserys because it's the egg that his son was going to have that Daemon stole, which is little bit of a personal slap in the face.
Not what you'd call tactful.
Yeah, it's basically the biggest middle thing you can do to your dad, essentially.
Well, your brother.
Well, your brother, but you know what I'm saying.
Or to a father, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though, how exactly they're going to drag Daemon back without a dragon is kind of odd. And then, oh, okay, that's actually a neat little touch. There's a chair. There's a symbol on the chair for the hand of the king. That's actually a neat touch. I actually like that. I didn't notice that. Huh.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I didn't see that either.
Yeah. Then, like you said earlier, he says he can't allow the king to do this. But I think partially I think that it's odd. I think there have been times in other fiction where they say, I cannot allow you to do this, Your Majesty, from a trusted official or friend, if the king is doing something unwise.
Well, there's the Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Yeah. And in that one, there's more of a divine right of kings with Caspian than there is here. Here, it's just the king is the authority, but he's the authority built on the backs of the willing participation of the realm. And at this point in time, it's based in the fact that they have a nuclear weapon, the fantasy equivalent of nukes.
Yeah, I mean they do get anointed by the High Septon, so there's that.
Yeah. Though I don't think they. I don't think many. I don't know how many of. There's not really chosen by God. It's just they get approval from the state religion. And I met, maybe it's just me, but I get the sense that a lot of the nobles in Westeros are very cynical toward the Face of the Seven. Catelyn does believe, but I imagine that a lot of them see the Faith of the Seven as a way of getting advancement.
Mm.
I feel like
or a
that's
tool to be used.
fairly. um, hey, you know, it's good that he's ignoring us, Trip. Just keep conspiring, and I'll keep talking about something else. Anyway, I feel like that's fairly like somewhat realistic to medieval society. You know, like there were people who were both devout and also were using it to gain like um they were using it to gain power and to manipulate and politic and stuff, but they also believed. But there was also definitely people who were just like, this is the status quo, I will nominally follow it, but this I'm using it for politics. And then there was people who just believed and didn't use it for politics. You know, like there's always people in those three camps.
Yeah.
And maybe it depends on the kind of world you're in, how many you got in each camp, but you know. Now, no, I disagree, Trip. Season 7 is bullshit. I cannot stand any of it, and it needs to burn in the fire of Season 8. Season 7 is one of the reasons why Season 8 is that bad. Like, it's the culprit in a lot of for a lot of ways, and
It's the
I
smoking
cannot
gun.
stand it.
Though there was a set of people who managed to make a good Season 8, even with the backdrop of Season 7 behind
Which
it.
is a
Yeah.
great feat because Season 7 is bullshit.
Yeah, it's kind of rot.
It's also like fans know what's best. Shocking.
Or yeah, it was literally just before. Actually, it was before Season 8 came out that a group of college students for a class wrote a script for a possible Season 8 before Season 8 even got released. Before even leaks came out about Season 8.
Get them a budget. Jeez. They can do something like that.
Yeah, they had a whole radio drama thing. You can see it on YouTube. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. We've talked about this bit where apparently, he's talking about how Allison clearly has a self-harm problem where she picks at her nails. And there's the bit that you're talking about where he calls his daughter comely.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. And it's supposed to be fucking weird, so it's not like I'm like, sure you did a bad thing. It's like, no, he's just being weird with his daughter, and you're getting some hints. This is one of the ways in which you get a bit of hints, like this guy ain't quite right.
You are very comely, so please go and seduce the king.
Like where Corlys is ironically, Corlys is putting forward his 12-year-old daughter to get married, and he looks like a more like, you know, responsible father doing that than Otto over here calling his own daughter comely. It's like, well, Otto, Corlys is just doing what the culture needs to be done and securing like the future of his family. Otto's just being a weird guy.
Well, he's a snake after all, so
yeah. It does seem as though Otto has designed this mission to fail, though, for a few reasons. One, he lies to Daemon about the fact that the king didn't want to come. He also brings Sir Criston Cole, the guy who beat Daemon at the joust.
Yeah, he's just trying to start shit, and it's just like, you're just a stupid little weasel, really?
Yeah.
The question has been raised.
He looks like one there. What the fuck has happened to his hair? He looks like a weasel.
The question has been raised, what if Daemon had just said, Caraxes? Dracarys?
I get the sense that perhaps Otto, as soon as he saw the dragon, would have repeated and basically went, and Daemon is an open rebellion. We should unleash the dragons onto him, because otherwise there's no other way to roust him out of Dragonstone. That's my personal interpretation, that he's deliberately designed to provoke Daemon into not even negotiating with him so that he can go back to Viserys and permanently remove Daemon from the equation.
So start the dance early.
Yeah, that is definitely my headcanon, though. That is not in the show. That is me steel manning the position, because otherwise this doesn't really make much sense. So yeah, the room was hilarious. Yeah, showing her the room was great.
That was very horrible of you.
Yeah.
She lost a bet and she asked, "Hey, what do you want?" So you won. You won this game of Call to Adventure. What do you want to do? And it's like, I kind of want to show you the room.
I mean, I can't really talk. I sat out through the Twilight movies, but having said that, I mean, you know, he'll bitch and moan about it, but we had a lot of fun. Like, it was a lot, you know, and we watched one and then we'd watch something that he liked, and then we watched one and then we watched something that he liked, you know. And by the time we got to the last one, it's really quite funny. Fucking CGI baby and everything.
Or this thing.
Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
Me and Michael Sheen enjoying his life. And then that fake out fight where, like, what's his name? Carlisle gets his head ripped off and it's really violent and it's like, what the fuck is happening? And it was all a vision.
At least he was having fun.
He's loving it, and it's so much fun. We had a good time at the end, you know. At least it turned into something enjoyable by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the God Emperor himself, Michael Sheen, saved us.
Oh.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it seems as though he's specifically curated this team to piss off Daemon. And since he could have taken any Knight of the Kingsguard with him.
it's interesting. Are we doing some foreshadowing here with the conflict between Daemon and Kristen? Is that foreshadowing things that happen later? And it's nice that Daemon is a bit of a good sport. When Kristen Cole says, well, you know, when are you still suffering from concussion when I bashed you on the head or something, or whatever he says?
Yeah, I recall you knocked. Perhaps my prince recalls when I knocked him off his horse.
I think Daemon just laughs.
Yeah, he doesn't get pissed off. The thing that seems to piss him off is when when people draw their swords, Daemon draws his, and he also says, "Hey, I've got a giant, aggressive ass attack dog the size of a jet."
It's Baby Smaug.
Incidentally, it breathes fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good old Caraxes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we have that little standout right there, and I like that they still have the little valves on either side of his mouth where the flames come out. Kind of reminds me of Reign of Fire. Have any of you heard of that movie?
I've heard of it, yes. Is that the one with Christian Bale?
Yep. And Matthew McConaughey doing his southern drawl. All right. Let's do it up in here.
I thought my
Yeah.
accents were bad.
Yep.
Yeah. However, thankfully, in order to save the day, we have
He just showed up.
yeah.
Mighty Mouse will save the day.
No,
Yeah.
Dan's
Indeed.
accents are pretty damn shit. Like I'm used to Tarek's accents, and like Dun is somehow worse than him.
Ugh,
Is that
why
the
are you
racist
sending me that Blarney? My Irish accent
Yeah.
is perfectly fine.
Die.
Oh god.
You have a
Can you
shit. You have a
actually
shit Irish
just-
accent, mate.
Just not. Just please refrain.
I've met dead cockroaches with a better accent.
Mm.
Yep. I would
Indeedy.
hesitate.
So
Not
he's
hesitate to.
actually not the villain. Damon's actually not the bad guy.
Not
Yeah,
yet.
nihilist. Stop fucking jumping to conclusions and acting like it's stupider than you think it is.
Yeah. They just name him. So
I think it's actually interestingly clever if there's a level of implication there, in that it almost like clouds you as an audience into thinking possibly he's got the more slightly with letters changed, and sound slightly changed evil sounding name. So you're thinking he's the bad guy, you know what I mean? And in the same way, there's an element of maybe that's happening with, demon is a word I believe in the world of Ice and Fire, and that I believe.
Mm.
So like, if a word sounds like something, it influences you think. That's like why when you create fantasy names, it's quite fun to take a word that's similar to the implication you want to get, and then change a load of letters. It will kind of people think in language, so it's an interesting, thing to give you the implication it's going to be in that direction and not make it that way. It just makes him, and it fits this kind of bad boy thing that he's got going on,
hmm.
and also Trip, like I can't give that man compliments. I'm sorry, it's not a thing. It's not happening. That's your job.
There are standards.
Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be an antagonist. I just wanted to hear your reactions to that claim. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, he's not even gonna be an antagonist. He's in the next one. He's gonna be the protagonist, I imagine, or one of them.
I mean, he does
I'm-
do things later.
I'm not 100% of like his exact role in the story, but knowing this, the way that these shows go, like the way this world is, the way that Gum writes, like I wasn't assuming, I wasn't assuming that he was necessarily going to be a villain. I was imagining he was some level of an antagonist, but like I wasn't sure where it was going to go, so I was just like assuming. Well, it's quite a Targaryen name, so.
Well, things do happen later.
Oh, Tarot does that, Trip. Don't worry, it's a thing. Men be doing that. Oh my god, I got compliments. What am I going to do? They get a bit pig-headed. It's it's a thing. You don't want other people complimenting them. That's where it all goes wrong.
Yeah. So
Wow.
But on topic, things will happen
I'm sorry,
later.
Valerian.
yeah,
Things will happen later in terms of Damon.
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't
He'll
do that many.
things.
Yeah, he actually, like, reading through it, he doesn't do that many bad things.
He's just got. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. I was on it. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were here. Not that I would say it when you weren't here, even though I did. I said big-headed actually, but if that came out wrong, that's what I meant. But you are. I love you, I promise.
Yeah, he doesn't really do that many like super bad things in the book. The thing that happens, it's a bit different in the book than it is here, though partially there's some confusion due to a what I think is a deliberate mistake on George R. R. Martin's part, where in the book Missaria is pregnant, but in this it's firmly stated that nope, she is not knocked up. She actually took care of that, had that taken care of a long time ago, whether by her choice or somebody else's, it's not made clear. But for sure, he's not going to have a kid.
The questionable things that Damon does come later.
Yeah.
Or is said to have done come later.
Yeah, I think specifically what we're thinking of is Blood and Cheese. No specifics for those who haven't seen it, but that's the main thing I'm thinking of in terms of the bad thing that he does.
That's pretty bad if he did do it.
Yeah.
If he did it.
Yeah. Valerian's a tough old bird. I think that you could take a few more roasts. Especially if he's nice and tender.
Nope, we've met the quota, sorry.
Okay, I will be good. I promise. I'll try to be good.
We've met the quota.
I can't promise anything about Dunn. He's his own person.
Yeah, I don't roast Valerian very often, do I? I just annoy him with...
He annoys me, but yeah, he's good at... And Dunn doesn't really roast people very often. He mostly just is really irritating and kind of immature. He doesn't actually roast people very much.
What's
Yeah.
worse, him annoying you, or like people like me who don't know how to stop themselves from saying a thing before they say a thing that they think is funny in their head? Which one's worse?
Well, you're actually... When you are funny, you're actually funnier than Dragonlord is. So you kind of win out there.
Fair enough. It's like I'm like, oh, that would be funny. I say it and then go, wow, that was actually quite mean.
That is true. There's no respect. That is also true.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I try to be nice, but then I just think that being mean is funny sometimes, so then I forget to be nice.
It's a common enough mistake. You're not even that bad an example of it.
I'm dating Tarek. It rubs off on you.
Rubs off on you. Interesting.
Oh, shut the fuck up, you piece of shit.
It's a common enough error.
No, she's talking to me.
I wasn't talking to you, Kodak. I promise.
I know, I'm just messing.
I'm
so glad you noticed.
I know, yes, Neil is
Funny enough,
correct.
Kodak.
Oh.
Funny enough, Codex, you're really quite inoffensive, so I probably never had any reason to insult you.
So anyway, Neil is correct. Fire and Blood is a history book.
Yep. Yeah, it is written like a Wikipedia article from the 17th century about medieval stuff.
Yeah, Trip, we love Neil. Neil's talking about the actual subject.
Yeah, Neil's good. Neil's cool. Neil is good people.
Neil is not on the gin, so Neil knows to talk about the actual subject.
Imagine that.
So yeah, there is something that they brought up earlier, which was, what about Massaria's accent? So,
It's
actually,
very
listen to
French English.
It's actually more Cajun than French, which is interesting because the actress has studied French because she's Chinese, British, and a little bit of Spanish.
Actually, she's of Japanese extraction, as I recall.
Oh, Japanese. My bad.
Good
Sorry.
grief.
Can I just say that when they're stood on that bridge with the standoff, right? Her expression as the whole conversation goes down is fucking wonderful. She's
like
just
that.
like, you piece. It was as I think the joke was what was it?
He's going to be sleeping on the Valerian steel couch.
Yeah, that is what that stare was saying. That was like, you ain't getting any tonight.
Yeah.
Sleeping on the Valerian steel couch, and you better be nice to me. That was exactly what was happening right there.
No, you're gonna sleep with the dragons tonight.
Yeah,
he's
in the dragon house. I think that was the
Yeah.
joke. Right?
Yeah, the small dragon house. Yeah.
It was like,
All
oh,
500 of them.
it was that moment where I was like, I like this character. She's gonna be fun because
Yeah.
like, with a character like Damon who's just like can push the whole world around, you know. He needs like someone that's willing to kind of butt heads with him a bit, you know, to stop him from overpowering everything, you know. And she's good. I like her.
Is it
She's
just
like,
me?
"Excuse you."
Is it just me, or is the accent a little bit excessive?
A bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know. I wonder because
it's very
like, well,
Cajun. It's more Cajun rather than French.
I wonder that it's like, how long is it supposed to be implying she really hasn't been in Westeros for very long? Because here's the thing, right? When she's doing the accent at the brothel, you could argue maybe that's like part of the charm she's putting on the accent for like the you know, for the role that she's playing, right? But once it's just them, it's like she doesn't talk like that all the time. You know, she has to give up the act at some point, so at that point she would be talking normally. So if she's talking like that normally, then that means that she maybe hasn't been speaking the language of Westeros for like on the regular. Maybe she learnt it back home, but she hasn't been speaking it for that long, maybe. So just that I don't know, I'm taking that as like maybe she moved there not too long ago.
Well, maybe it's a parallel between Missandre and Dany, how she was learning what was it? When she was trying to learn the language in the early seasons of Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I mean, Missandei.
We do need to wrap this up. I need to get going soon.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, Dan.
So is there any other thoughts? I think the main thing, we have a little bit where Viserys and Rhaenyra make up after a long restraint, which I think is a good idea.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
But we didn't say anything about Rhaenyra's role because we were too busy going off on tangents about in-jokes and things, so we got distracted from Rhaenyra's role, which is kind of important.
Yeah, she basically plays to Daemon and lets him kind of plays on the fact that he likes her, possibly even sexually. But at least she's very much she understands him, and she knows that he won't hurt her because, unlike Otto, he actually likes her. You would probably try to kill Otto, if he could.
And I like how she knows that she knows to use force, but she also knows that like she is the person that is going to influence that. Yeah, no, I agree, Trip. That's what I was saying about like the whole older, especially with the older female characters who have their realistic lived lives, that they act like they have their realistic lives that they have lived, and the perspective that comes with that, and that they're not just all acting like Rhaenyra is, like, because in an unrealistic show, that's what happens. All the women talk like Rhaenyra, even though she's talking like a 15-year-old. You know?
Yeah, the immature. She actually demonstrates a measure of maturity in saying, "Hey, you should marry." The choice that he picks to marry ends up blowing up in his face.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons I really like that scene between him and Rhaenyra, because it's like she has a lot of parts of her personality that is still her age, right? But through this episode, she did learn a lot of responsibility and a lot of like, you know, she's learning that she needs to be like that. And she really shows an element in that, you know, and in that conversation, and it's really nice to see her. Yeah.
She called Daemon's bluff. Basically, and then she comes back and says, "Oh, by the way, Dad, I fixed that thing. So are you gonna listen to me a bit more now, please? Thank you."
Well, yeah, but also she talks to him on a level of like
Oh,
understanding his
Yeah.
responsibility and
mhm.
understanding both their paces. You know, like
Yeah,
I really, and that there's so much maturity in that. It's not just listen to me, I was right. It's there is elements where I'm right, but also like I realized that I was being a little bit of a upstart 15-year-old, you know, and
yeah,
Yeah.
I really like that.
yeah.
She's showing she's got self-reflection and stuff, and it's great.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's like two sides to it. I was right, but I understand that
I
you
do
have
see
to,
your side of things. Yeah.
because
And
now she
and
wants
I'm
to
putting my emotions aside as
Do
well.
need to quickly finish up.
basically
Yeah, okay.
basically she wanted to have a conversation with him. That's what she wanted. So when she has the conversation, she's willing to admit that yes, you do need to get married.
Alrighty. And then he announces that he's getting married, and his choice pisses off everybody. Pisses off his daughter,
like-
pisses off his best ally. And then that leads us into the next bit where Damon and Corliss plan to take the Stepstones away from the pirates. And that's the end. So
We do see Leonardo. I mean, we do see Leonardo DiCaprio, the Iron Mask, and the like, but still.
Yep. I do like the bit. One bit I will bring up is that Damon is still loyal to his brother, and he says the only person who gets to throw crap at my brother is me.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I mean, whether it's
Sorry,
loyalty or just being a sibling, like I
Yeah.
like that element of like that is how you are with your siblings. It's like, yeah, shut the fuck up about my brother. I insult him.
Yep. And that's how the episode ends, with the crab feeder being built up as the next boss. But discuss amongst yourself in the comments what you think. We've been pretty favorable, and we are very happy. So, but I do need to get going. So I will see you guys later. Bye.
Goodbye.
Have a riot.
Bye.
Bye, guys.